Hello, writers. I'm Josiane Fortin, and today I'm interviewing Brian Byers. Brian is interested in many different things, but today we're going to talk about his writing pursuit. And he has self-published a new sci-fi book that's coming out by the end of August on Amazon. And he's also a screenwriter, so I'm sure he has a lot to share about writing. So, Brian, please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first, thanks for having me on the show.
My pleasure.
This is always fun. I love doing this. I love talking to people, especially over coffee. So, you know,
I got my coffee too. Cheers.
fantastic. See, yeah, cheers. Yeah, I've simplified who I am into a kind of a one sentence, even a couple of words. Um, I have been and always have been and always will be a storyteller. So anything I've ever done, it's about a story. What is the story? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. There's always a journey. So whether that's an illustration, whether that's a comic, um, a short film, a TV show, whatever I'm working on at the time, um, I already know. The trick is I already know where I want to go with the story. So um, I've been doing it since I was three, probably.
And what
I
are
know
the
that
themes
sounds
of the story? Like, what is it that you have to say? Do you touch on the same things over and over, just
that's
different
a great
themes?
question. I kind of do. I'm a big fan of the underdog.
Okay.
I uh, love I love misleading the audience playfully, not in a very horrible way. I like, whenever M. Night Shyamalan came onto the scene, I was so excited that somebody was doing what I think I was trying to do prior to him. Though he's mostly, his stuff is very intense. I like to focus on really good feelings, even in a very rough situation. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, people. I've done so many award-winning short films that are
Awesome.
horror or sci-fi based that people don't understand that that's really not what the story was about. And if they think about it, they go, "Wow, that was actually a really good story. We just used aliens, or we used some sort of supernatural spirit, to move the story along as a vehicle." But I'm very interested in the underdog, and I'm
Okay.
very interested in unconditional love.
And so you've been doing that since you were 3 years old, just
Kind
making
of,
up
yes.
stories and telling stories.
Kind of. I was always into the stories, Hansel and Gretel, when I was a little kid, the two little kids that were mistreated and then abducted by this lady. They were just trying to eat. They were, starving.
But she
And
was just trying to eat too.
yeah, but let's be honest, she's an adult and they were not. So the children win, and even more so the girl. And so I even focus on women in my books more than men. My new book that's coming out is about a woman, or about women. It's
Yeah.
not even about the men that I mislead you into thinking it's a man story, and it's not. It's a people story.
And so that's the first book that you self-publish, right?
This is going to be the first book that first novel that I have self-published. I have self-published a children's book, and
Okay.
I have self-published a paranormal log book for people that back in the day there used to be, ghost hunting teams, and they would log all the things that happened to them during the night. I just created a workbook for everybody. I just was trying to make it easier. I wasn't trying to self-publish a book.
Okay. And why did you decide to write your first book? The first
This one.
novel. Yeah,
Oh,
this one.
it was intended to be a short film. I wrote it as a short film, and I shared it with a friend of mine. He lives in the UK. His name is Stephen Radford, and he's an author and a screenwriter and a designer and my best friend. So I shared it with him, and he read it, and he said, "Brian, let me turn this into a novel."
Okay.
So He did. He flipped it into a novel. He took the story, the essence, the characters. He didn't lose anything. He just added to um, all the characters and built it into a novel. And I let him. I trust him so much. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
like his writing style. He has a great book called The Gathering Thread. Very good book. He self-published that, and uh, whenever he let me read the first pass of my book, which is called Semblance Anon. Uh,
Okay.
when I got that back the first read, I read it, and um, on the parts where you're supposed to, I cried, and it's my story, but
It's your
he wrote it
story.
so good that I was like, my Lord, this is fantastic.
But how long did that process take, like going back and forth? Like
Uh,
you wrote the book and then you read it and then you like,
mhm.
did you contribute back? Did you
Yes. Oh,
comment on it?
absolutely. We went
Okay.
back and forth on, he would be like, how does this sound? And I would write back and say, I wouldn't do it like this. I would do it like this. Or
Okay.
I'm confused here. There was even one wonderful moment where a character in the novel drops a weapon. And I'm like, shouldn't somebody try to pick that weapon up? And so we went back and forth. He's like, no, there's too much going on that they
Yeah.
just forget about it. And I'm like, I wouldn't forget about it. I would pick up the weapon. I would be like, we got to get this. We could use this.
Yeah.
It's a very intense moment. And we went back and forth. And finally, he sent me a graphic that he made that said something like, nobody gets the gun. I'm like, okay, fine, that's fine.
So he won
It's
about the
He
gun.
totally
Yeah.
he won every battle. I mean, come on. He is such a good writer. And then I would go back and say, should we use the state's version of this word, or should we use the American English equivalent? We would go back and forth with even little things like,
Yeah.
would they say rubbish? Would this person say that? Oh, I guess they would. Yes. Oh, that's fine. Let's just leave it.
And so how long did that process take?
Um, So from the first pass that he gave me, which took about a year, he spent about 6 months writing it. We went back and forth. Um, and you're gonna laugh, to even right now, he just rewrote a whole chapter
Okay.
because it wasn't smooth enough. And we know we're about to hit publishing in the
Yes.
next week or two. So it's like, all right, let's just go through it one more time. And I'm on chapter 2, rereading everything, looking for punctuation. And, if we use the word favorite with a U in it, do we continue that use all the way throughout the book? We need to
Yeah.
make sure which person is saying what, because they're from different countries.
Okay.
Some people are from France, some people are from Ireland, some people are from Egypt and America. And so consistency, we brought in, it's not like your typical sci-fi book. It's a future book. This is us 800 years in the future. So
Okay.
it's very
Do you
real.
dream of people like in 800 years, like going through your book and saying, oh, yeah, he got that right?
I've never thought about that till you said it. But I did think about what might it look like. And, sure, we're trying to colonize planets, but we suck at it. We're just not any good at it. We're still angry at everybody. Everyone's mad at each other politically. There's always lying going on underlying the entire universe, just like it is now. But there's also good. There's small good that grows.
Yeah.
And so you might have a different, it takes place on a planet called New Paris.
Okay.
And
And is that in France or New
it
Paris is
is it
somewhere
is a
else?
French, it's a French owned planet. It is.
Okay. Oh,
I won't
okay.
get
The whole planet is owned by the French.
Well, not necessarily. It's owned by, but it's been populated. It became a prison planet, and I won't
Okay.
go much further with that. So,
Okay.
so you have all sorts of people from all nations there,
Yeah.
but it's not a political book. That's just sort of the underlying tone. You start to pick it up as people start to talk. Some people mutter under their under their breath in a different language, and you're like, oh, well, that guy is obviously not Irish, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
so you said the first pass was 6 months to write.
yes, it was
And
6 months to write, and we spent another. We've probably spent another 8 months rewriting it.
okay. Because like
And
sometimes like I hear writers say like they get writer's block because it's not perfect on the first time, but I guess they don't realize how much rewriting goes into writing a novel.
it can, and it probably should go through a little scrutiny, I think. Um, we were very happy with the first pass. We were so happy that we sent it to a very big publisher,
Yeah.
and we made it through what they have are phases. We made it through the first cut. They
Okay.
read it and they liked it, but they knew there were issues with it that we didn't know, we didn't even think about, and we were hoping, oh, we're going to go through a huge publisher. We're not going to self-publish. We just thought this is going to be amazing. And then a year goes by and we're still waiting. And I keep calling and they're like, we're almost at looking at your book, probably another 2 or 3 more months.
Okay.
And then COVID-19 came on the scene and everything stopped.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Steven and I said, I just want people to read our hearts. We spent so much time trying to make you laugh, trying to make you cry, trying to make you concerned for these people. For
Yeah.
specifically, the main character ends up being a young girl coming of age. So she eventually becomes the main character, which you'll see. And I want people to read it. I want kids to read it. It's a family book. If you were to
Okay.
ask me, but you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't go, um, I don't know. If I were to, and we have it as a screenplay as well. We flipped it into a screenplay as well. So it's a 90-minute film just waiting to happen.
Okay.
But yeah, it took a long time. We could have just threw it out there, but I don't think it would. I don't think we would love it as much, and I don't think the people reading it they would stumble into areas that were rough.
And so you had this potential deal with a publishing house and you decided that was taking too long.
Yes,
And
over a
you
year.
said,
Over a year. So we pulled
let's
it. We
screw
said,
that.
yes,
Okay.
we're going to do this ourselves. And
Okay.
it's not about making money for him or I. Do we want to make money? Sure. I would love to be a writer, sit at home and just write and be Stephen King, give
Yeah.
me that contract, but I got to be realistic. For a first novel, I just want people to read it.
Yeah.
And that's
And we
my
never
heart.
know. Like you never
Exactly.
know which one is going to be the bestseller.
You're right. You're absolutely right. How many will it take for someone? And if a small publishing house came to us, we would probably take that deal in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not worried about it because I already know it's amazing. So, and every writer will say that my book is amazing. I spent all this time
Yeah.
um, but I do know that I have won many awards as a film director. So I got a gut feeling that this is pretty good. I think
Yeah.
people
And
will
we get
enjoy it.
better as we write, right? So I'm sure that you get
Yep.
more confidence from all your experience that you've had. And all the prizes, also like the outside like approval from people. Like I know that I'm always craving for other people to say that was good, that was fun, that was interesting.
I just want one review of somebody saying, "Hey, I liked it." That would be great. I don't want it to be a friend. I just want it to be some stranger.
Yeah,
That's what
that
I want.
enjoyed it. Yeah. And what advice would you give to an aspiring author?
So my belief is that we are all aspiring authors. Everybody. How many people have you run into that say, I'm going to write a book, or I've got
Yeah,
a
a
book
lot, a
inside
lot.
me? Yeah. And how many of those people actually write a book?
Very few.
I can't name one. I can tell you more people that have come up to me and I go, "Hey, where have you been?" "I just wrote a book." And I go, "You're a rock star, man, because you did it. You went out there and you didn't tell anybody. You just did it." And I think that's the if I have to leave with one thing for someone that wants to write and they have it in them, you just start writing and you don't tell people about it. You don't I know you're excited about it. That's great, but if you start sharing it too much, you've already told the story verbally. So then you don't have that energy, that fire to put it on paper, or digitally, you don't have
Okay,
that
so keep
fire.
the story secret so that you have the
Mostly,
motivation to write it and share it in
yes.
written form.
Yeah, because the payoff saying I wrote a book in comparison to let me tell you about the book I'm going to write. The payoff is so much bigger when you go, here's 400 pages of my book, you know, and it doesn't matter really if anyone likes it. You did it. You accomplished that. I think that's a very um, a key thing. And if you're really, really serious about writing, and I borrow this from Jack Kerouac, um, the best advice I've ever read was his, and to write as close as you can to the end of the story, and
Okay,
you will
what does
have
that
a
mean?
novel. Well, let's say I'm going to write Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah.
I don't want to start the story with the mother and father having a baby and naming the baby, Gretel. That's so long, and that's such a long ways to get to the end of that story where the
Okay.
witch dies.
Yeah.
You want to write closer to the end, as close as you can get to the end. And once you've done that, look and see how many pages you have, and you'll be surprised. You'll be like, wow, I've got 300 pages. That might be your book, and it might require a prequel or a backstory, or it might be part of a trilogy. Don't try and write a trilogy. Try and write a book. Try and write a story.
Yeah. And like, what was the hardest thing about becoming a self-published author? Like, what was the hardest thing?
Um, well, let's see. My first self-published book is a children's book called I Think We've Got Ghost.
Okay.
And it's about a little kid that experiences all the different types of ghost and spiritual apparitions that ghost hunters experience. I wrote this for little kids that didn't know how to explain what they might be seeing in their house. It gave them kind of a voice of, it's this one right here. I see something like this.
Okay.
And it's very cute. And Shel Silversteiny, I'm also an illustrator, so I drew it. I think the hardest thing about self-publishing a book is making the book. The
Yeah.
self-publishing you can do in about 4 hours. It doesn't take long. You just
And
sit
that
down
one,
and
was it on Amazon too?
yeah,
Okay.
Amazon. Yep. No, actually, that one was on Amazon, but it started off at Lulu.com.
Okay.
So it was a Lulu Press book, and then it went over to Amazon, and I don't even know if it's available anymore. It's been so long. It's been like over 10 years ago.
Yeah. And so, what would you say to someone who wants to self-publish versus like going to a publishing house?
So there are two types of people. There is someone that is just starting their first novel, and there is Stephen King. And if Stephen King said, I'm going to self-publish a book, I would go, the guy's a genius, because he doesn't care anymore about, being published by a big publisher. Now he's looking at just gaining a bigger audience.
Yes.
But as a self-published artist, you have the ability to control your design of your book, the
Mhm.
length of your book, um, all the misspellings and grammatical errors that you have in your book. You have the control over what size it is, whether it's paperback, hardback, a strictly e-download digital book. You have all this control, and you have the ability to put it out there and then tell people, hey, I've got a book out there. I'm looking for a publisher. So it's an adventure. So if you're going to be someone that's interested in publishing your first book, self-publishing is a great way to go. You can get more people interested in your book, especially if you're an aspiring author or a new author, because the bigger publishers, they're not necessarily looking for a new author. They're looking for the next big thing. But a
Yeah.
small publisher is looking for someone that's already self-published a book that they can pick up and republish it through their brand, through their company. So it's a stepping stone game.
Yeah.
But you have all the control, whereas if you have a publisher, they have all the control.
Right. And how do you go about promoting your book, your next book? What's your strategy?
My strategy is to go on podcast
Like
guest,
this one.
yeah, and go on Facebook and say, "Hey, I wrote a book. Anyone want to have me on a podcast?"
Do you have a following?
Um, that's a weird question. I do.
That's a
Not,
weird question.
well, yeah, you don't just walk up to somebody, "Hey, do you have a following?" Yeah, I guess I do. I don't ever really look at it like that, but there are people that because I'm in TV and film and animation and game design and stuff like that, there are a lot of people that just sort of uh, they follow me on Instagram or
Yeah.
on Facebook or whatever, and so
So there are
I
potential customer where you can promote the book
right.
to. Yeah.
But podcasts are great because right now during this whole C-19 thing, people are at home and they're running out of Netflix, so now they're resorting to podcasts. There's a ton of content out there.
Yes.
And there's new podcasts, there are old ones. I don't think one's better than the other, but the best way to advertise or market your book is to go on go on podcasts like this one, or post, "Hey, I wrote a book. It's called this. You can get it here," and then hashtag, looking for publisher, hashtag new book, hashtag bored want to read a book on Instagram, and you'll get 1 million people checking out what it is that you've got if they're looking for something. So
Okay, let me take that. Like I need to write those hashtags. I'll have to listen back to them.
oh, you can write any hashtag, hashtag sci-fi novel. That's what I
I
plan on
write
doing.
in French, so that's always an issue for me because there are
Ah,
fewer
mhm.
readers. So that's always my challenge to reach out to a lot of
Yeah,
people.
that there needs to be a, a globalized hashtag language, that everyone uses, like C++, let's just come up with a hashtag language that we all use, and it all means the same exact thing so we can
Yeah.
reach everybody.
Yeah. And how do you promote yourself as a writer? Because I feel it's different, like to promote yourself and promote a book. Do you have a different strategy? Because you do like a lot of other things too.
Right. Um, everyone knows me as that guy that's done everything and doesn't have anything in his bucket. Everyone has a bucket list.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've done everything. There's nothing I haven't done. So when I say, "Hey, I wrote a book," everyone's like, "Yeah, and what else?
What
What
else
else
is
haven't
new?
you done? I thought you already did that." Um, to market myself as an author, that's interesting. I don't think I have a backup plan on that. I think I'm just going to go the way I go, and I think it's important. Not to pigeonhole yourself and to say, I'm a storyteller. I'm still a storyteller. And this book, technically written by Stephen Radford. So even though it is my story essentially, and I did have input, and we did go back and forth, and I designed the cover, and it gives a lot away of the book, the cover does, but you don't know it. So, you ever stare at a cover, you're reading a book and you're like, who is this little guy in the very background, and then like chapter 34, you're like, that's that guy. Oh,. There he is. Yeah, there's some elements on the book cover are very interesting. So it's one of those things, as you're reading it, it'll unfold.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think I'll market myself any different. If I was marketing myself as only an author or a writer, I think that would be misleading. Just like
Yeah.
if you know, Madonna were to say, I wrote a book. Also, I'm Madonna, I also sing and write and
Yeah.
dance and
It's always
perform.
hard like to present like a persona where you do so many different things. Like I feel it's a challenge for me because I'm like I have like a day job that I enjoy, and then I'm a writer and I'm a painter, so it's hard to kind of blend that in. And I like how you found like a simple way to say it. You're a storyteller.
Yeah,
I haven't
that's,
found quite yet the
I
right
think,
term for myself.
I think, and I'll tell you, you're probably way more than just a writer, and I think you know that.
Yeah,
So
but I don't know how to pin it like just
you
in
don't,
one sentence.
I don't think you need to. I think I got
No?
lucky. Yeah, I think you can say I'm a writer and I also, sculpt,
Yeah.
or
I've heard
um,
about this term, the slasher, writer slash
yes, yes.
like feminist slash podcaster slash.
I
I have
was I
all
was
these
that guy for
slashes.
the longest time, and about 10 years ago I changed it to have, instead of writer, director, producer, illustrator, animator, I combined it all into one thing, and it said the idea guy,
Yeah.
because I didn't understand that I was a storyteller. I thought maybe I'm just this idea guy. I come up with these ideas that I think are great. Other people think are harebrained schemes, but I always make them come to fruition. So they
Yeah.
always happen. Like it took me a lot to get this giant spotlight behind me. I choreographed it with the sun perfectly just for your show, but it's a great effect. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, when you move a little bit, it changes.
Oh, it
So,
does. Oh, there he is. There he is.
so the book is just coming out, and one of the questions is, do you have other sources of income? So obviously, you just named like quite a few titles that you have.
I do. I
And
work for a morning show,
okay,
local TV station here. And the morning show is called Morning Break, and I'm the guy that they put up on a hot air balloon, or I'm the guy that explores the history of Savannah, or I go into a haunted house at night and see if there are any ghosts, or I go to
have
a
you met
state
some
park.
ghosts?
Oh yeah. Oh, plenty, plenty.
Plenty.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens that people just they don't know about. We don't know what they are really, but there's something happening. There's stuff going on.
And so, what other writing projects are you currently working on?
I just started another book. I'm on chapter 3 now, and it's going smoothly. It's a more personal book, and the characters are probably for the young reader to high school type concept. Again,
It's
I'm
a
writing in.
novel, or
It's a novel.
yeah,
It's a novel, and it's got an end. It's about a group. No, it's about people and beings that were alive, uh, that we don't know about, but we already know about, but we don't know that we know about them during the flood. So it takes place during the Noah's Ark flood,
okay,
but it's not about Noah's Ark, and it's about other beings that were alive at the time.
okay, and they didn't make it on the boat, so
I'm
we
not.
don't
I'm
know.
only. I do. I'm a history guy, so I do a lot of research,
Okay,
and there's a lot of things that people don't know, a lot of mistranslations in different books, and they all came together, and I put it together and went, "That is crazy. I'm writing a book."
that sounds
So
intriguing.
it is. It's something that'll blow your mind because it's right there in front of our face, and it's been there for thousands of years. So I'm telling it.
All right, I can't wait to read it.
I
And
can't
if
wait to write it.
yeah, you have to rate it first, but it sounds really interesting. And if people want to know more about you, where can they connect? So I want you to say the title of your book again, because just to make sure that people understand it right, and
Right
then
on.
where can they connect?
Okay, so the book is called Semblance Anon. It's a
Okay.
mouthful, and that gives away the entire story. However, Semblance Anon, it's a sci-fi book that takes place in the not too far away future. So there's no laser guns and things like that. It's very real, like Honda and Polaroid make it all the way into the future. Those are two companies that I can guarantee are in the book. Um, but it's not a product placement book either. I believe these products they stand the test of time. I think
So
Honda
you
will be
do
around.
hold stock for those companies.
Well, we did get an endorsement from Polaroid. So after
Okay.
they read it, they gave us the okay to run with it, and
Yeah.
so that's kind of a weird, cool thing. I don't know why I
Yeah.
did that. I just wanted to make sure it was cool that we did it. But so it's called Semblance Anon, and it'll be out in the next week and a half or 2 weeks. Definitely by the end of August. It'll be on Amazon. You'll be able to search that, and or you can follow me on Instagram, A Break with Brian, Brian. So yeah, go on Instagram, A Break with Brian, and I will be sharing the book cover very soon and a
Yeah.
link to where you can get it, and maybe a lot of the behind the scenes, because it was originally a short film. I storyboarded most of it, so there's a lot of drawings that might give away part of the book if you see the drawing. It might not. It might entice you. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. So I'll make sure I'll share those links in the show notes. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much for sharing your experience with us.
Oh, anytime, and please write your book.
All right. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.